Evil Grandpa is already near. Watch the video to the end to save us. Hello, friends. Today, we have found ourselves in a terrifying mode in Roblox. Escape from Evil Grandpa. It turns out this grandpa is not as simple as he seems at first glance. He was abandoned by his grandchildren and children, and now he lives alone in an old, gloomy house. And what did he do? He turned his house into a real nightmare.
Hi, friends. Yes, Labrador is right. This grandpa turned out to be not only evil, but also quite inventive. He has set up many traps and obstacle courses in his house that we need to overcome. But the most interesting part is that he spent his whole life building a giant robot. Can you imagine? In the end, we will probably have to fight this robot. Labrador, run faster so he doesn't catch us. I'm scared.
Grandpa's house is full of strange and dangerous places. For example, he has made floors out of lava and various poisonous liquids. This is not just a house, it's a real death maze. The walls are decorated with paintings of his relatives and friends. It seems Grandpa hasn't completely forgotten about his past.
And these paintings don't just seem to be decorations. They create a strange feeling, as if we're constantly being watched. Grandpa clearly didn't want anyone to find the way out of his house. But Labrador and I aren't the type to give up. We will look for the exit and uncover all the secrets of this place.
It's interesting that Grandpa also engaged in various experiments. Throughout the house, there are traces of his scientific research. It seems he was trying to create something dangerous and powerful. Perhaps that's why he decided to build a giant robot. This house is like a mad scientist's laboratory.
Yes, Labrador, and this makes our adventure even more exciting. We have to be careful and vigilant to avoid falling into his traps. But we will manage. After all, we are a real team, and despite all the dangers, we will move forward and find the way out.
We have a lot to learn about Grandpa and his past. Who knows? Maybe he's just seeking attention and understanding. But one thing is for sure, his house is full of surprises, and every step could be a challenge for us. We need to stay alert and be ready for anything.
Our adventure is just beginning, and we are ready to overcome all the obstacles that Grandpa has prepared for us. Because ahead of us is a meeting with his giant robot. It won't be easy, but we will manage. Or will we? Guys, you definitely need to like and comment to make sure we succeed.
So, friends, we continue our exploration of this creepy house. We have already gone through several rooms, and each one was full of surprises. I especially remember the room with the lava floor. This grandpa clearly loved complex and dangerous mechanisms.
Yes, Labrador, it was just awful. I would never have thought that Grandpa could set such a trap in his house. But we managed, and that's the main thing. And you know what else caught my eye? The paintings. They show Grandpa with various people. Maybe it's his family, or maybe friends. It seems like each painting hides its own story.
These paintings are indeed strange. It seemed to me that in some of them, Grandpa looks like a completely different person, kind and cheerful. What happened that made him so evil? Perhaps loneliness and resentment did their job. But we need to move on and find the way out.
I noticed those changes in his face too. It seems he wasn't always like this. But now we need to focus on our path. There are still many traps and obstacles ahead. And of course, we must not forget about the giant robot that Grandpa has been building all his life. This will be our main challenge.
But first, we need to get out of this house. I think Grandpa left clues somewhere here. Maybe in the basement or the attic. These places always hold something important. We need to carefully inspect every room and not miss a single detail.
I agree, Labrador. We have to be attentive. Every little thing could be the key to solving the mystery. And also, we need to be ready for any surprises. Grandpa could set an ambush at any moment, but we will manage because we have a plan and a team.
Oh, how memorable this story is. As you know, our town is always full of interesting events, but this case truly surprised us. It all started at school when a new physical education teacher named Grandpa Steele appeared. At first glance, he was a kind old man, and all the children immediately liked him because of his gentle eyes and calm voice. But that was just a facade, behind which hid a real mystery.
Yes, Labrador. At first, we didn't even notice that something was wrong. Grandpa Steele was quite an unusual PE teacher. Instead of regular exercises during class, he suggested that the children do their training outdoors, running around the city and completing strange tasks. At first, everything seemed harmless, but with each passing day, His tasks became more and more bizarre. He asked the children to collect things from the streets. Bags, phones, wallets, anything small enough so that passersby wouldn't notice.
The small tasks started with simple requests. Bring me something interesting, or take this as a souvenir. But soon when the children began bringing him other people's things, it started to raise suspicions. One of the students, Sam, accidentally told his parents that he had brought someone's glasses from the park because Grandpa Steele said it was part of the training. The parents immediately suspected something was wrong. They came to us with a complaint, and we started an investigation.
When we began investigating, it became clear that Grandpa Steele wasn't just teaching physical education. He was manipulating the children, making them steal things from passersby, and those things later ended up in his class. He claimed it was a way for the children to develop agility, but in reality, it was a scheme to collect valuable items while also gaining power. The children felt they were learning something important, not realizing they were becoming part of a criminal activity.
We couldn't just let this go. The day I discovered a couple of bags and phones in the classroom, I realized we needed to intervene. Dobie and I started keeping an eye on Grandpa Steele and his students. We noticed how he spent more and more time outside with the kids, directing them on their hunt. There was no doubt that Grandpa was using his position as a teacher to manipulate the students.
And then came the moment when we decided to take action. We set up a trap. On the day of the next training session, we planted hidden cameras in the area where he usually held the lessons. When Grandpa Steele and the children approached one of the shopping rows, we saw him quietly push the students towards stealing. He even told one of them, "Pick up that bag, it'll come in handy." At that moment, it became clear that we needed to intervene immediately.
When we approached and asked Steele about his actions, he immediately began to justify himself, claiming that his methods were just a training exercise to make the children more agile. But we knew that, in reality, he was using the children for his own gain. We called the police right away, and while they were on their way, we helped the children return all the stolen items to their owners. It wasn't easy, but we couldn't leave the kids in that situation.
After we dealt with Grandpa Steele, all the children returned the stolen items. We talked to them and explained that it's important not only to train your physical abilities, but also to develop moral values. Grandpa Steele was, of course, arrested, and the school held a general assembly for students and parents. We told everyone how important it is not to fall for manipulation and to always remember your principles.
Like I said, there's never a dull moment in our town. That day, strange fiery spots appeared in the sky, and before we knew it, a giant spaceship hovered over the city. It turned out that the aliens weren't here in peace. Their mission was rather unusual. They wanted to take all our grandfathers and grandmothers to a cosmic retirement home.
Yes, Labrador, the aliens were planning to take the elderly, promising them comfort and peace. But the elderly didn't want to leave. The problem was that they were somewhat swayed by the promises, and the aliens began acting, trying to take them right off the streets.
Of course, we couldn't let that happen. Dobie and I immediately began gathering the elderly and explaining that we needed to take action. But the aliens weren't going to back down so easily, and one of our elderly ladies was already on her way to their ship when Dobie and I intervened.
That's when the idea struck me. We quickly gathered the elderly who could help and started devising a plan. Using antennas and old televisions, we set a trap for the aliens. They must have thought they had found an important signal and started following it, just as we had planned.
When they got close, the elderly activated their traps, and Dobie and I sprang into action. The aliens started panicking, and we caught one of them. It immediately threw them off balance.
After that, we set up a real finale. We cornered the alien ship in the town and created interference with their communications. They tried to leave, but their ships began losing stability.
And so, we not only protected our elderly, but we also sent the aliens off peacefully. In the end, no one had to go to the cosmic retirement home, and the elderly threw a celebration in honor of their victory.
Yes, that day was a real lesson for the aliens. The elderly in our town aren't just old people, they are real heroes. And for you and me, Labrador, it was yet another example of how important it is to act together.
Well, friends, our adventure in the Escape from Evil Grandpa mode has come to an end for today. We learned a lot about his past and went through many challenges.
Thank you for being with us every step of the way. Your likes and comments help us get better and braver.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss out on new exciting adventures in Roblox and other games. There's still plenty of fun ahead.
See you next time, friends. We'll definitely meet again in new thrilling adventures.
Grandma is very close. Watch the video until the end so I can escape from her. Hello, friends. Today, Dobie and I find ourselves in the house of the meanest grandma in Roblox. She was so unpopular and lonely that over time she became very evil and crazy. Her house has turned into a real obstacle course, and to escape, we will need to work together.
Yes, Labrador, this grandma is really crazy. Every corner of her house is dangerous, and everything here requires teamwork. For example, pressing buttons to activate blocks that we need to jump on. If we work together, we have a chance to get out.
Exactly, but this house is not only dangerous but also very beautiful. It's big, with many rooms and corridors decorated in a strange style. Despite all this beauty, we must be careful every step of the way because Grandma won't leave us alone.
She has become really scary. She's no longer just a grandma, but a real boss that we will have to fight at the end. She did everything to make sure we couldn't escape, but we're not the kind to give up, right, Labrador?
Absolutely. We've been through a lot already, and this evil grandma won't stop us. The main thing is not to lose our heads and to act in sync. We need to find buttons, activate blocks, and support each other at every stage.
And then we will succeed. We can overcome all obstacles and come out victorious from this strange and dangerous house. Teamwork is our key to success, and we'll show this grandma that she shouldn't mess with us. Exactly. There are surely many hidden buttons in this hall that need to be activated to move forward. But the most important thing is not to be afraid. We've already come so far, and we won't stop halfway.
Now we've reached the main hall. It's particularly scary here. Grandma could pop out of a window at any moment. Grandma has clearly made an effort to create a terrifying atmosphere. We need to stay alert because every room could hide new dangers. And now, when we're almost at the exit, we face the final challenger, Grandma herself. She stands at the door, glaring at us menacingly, not intending to let us go. We will need to use all our strength and skills to fight her and come out victorious.
But we can handle it. After all, we are a team. We can support each other, find weak spots, and use them to our advantage. This grandma doesn't know who she's dealing with yet. Friends, be sure to subscribe to our channel, like, and comment. It gives us strength.
I'm going to tell you a story that you definitely haven't heard before. This story started at the most unexpected moment. It was an ordinary day, everything seemed calm. But as soon as I woke up, I received an alarming call. There was an emergency at the town prison. 2 dangerous criminals, who had been convicted for a series of bold robberies, somehow escaped. Dobie and I immediately started the investigation, but when we found out how they operated, we just couldn't believe our ears.
It was truly something strange. After Labrador told me about the incident, we immediately began searching the town. What did we find out? These 2, who had escaped from prison, decided to use a trick. They disguised themselves as elderly people. Their plan was simple. No one would suspect old folks, especially in our town where everyone is used to kind and quiet grandmothers and grandfathers. But it was just an outward deception.
Yes, exactly. They started walking around the town, gathering information on houses where they could commit robberies. We began noticing strange events. In one house, money disappeared. In another, valuable items vanished. That's when I realized these 2 were behind it all. But how could we find them if they were hiding behind the mask of ordinary elderly people? It was like looking for a needle in a haystack.
At first, we tried checking the elderly people who had recently arrived in the town, but they were all clean. The problem was that the criminals had disguised themselves very well. We couldn't catch them doing anything suspicious. But soon, Labrador noticed something strange. In one neighborhood, where everything seemed quiet and peaceful, suddenly strange disappearances began occurring. The elderly people's apartments would suddenly be empty. Their belongings were gone, and they supposedly went to visit relatives.
That's when it became clear to me that we needed to act more carefully. These 2 criminals must have been leaving some trace, so Dobie and I decided to focus on the houses where these disappearances had occurred. We began checking each location, but here was the catch. How could we tell which elderly people were real and which ones were criminals in disguise? It was like a game of cat and mouse.
That's when I came up with an idea to organize a small event for the elderly, a gathering so everyone would come. I was sure that among them, we would find those who were hiding something. We arranged a celebration in the town center and invited all the elderly folks. Among them were many kind and sweet residents, but there were two who stood out. They were too active, asking too many questions, walking around, avoiding talking to others.
And right then, Dobie and I knew. They were the ones, the escaped criminals. We approached them, and as soon as they noticed us, they suddenly changed their behavior. They started getting nervous and even tried to escape. We immediately called for backup and apprehended them. Once they were in our hands, they couldn't escape the law. It was like a movie, only the reality was much scarier.
Yes, and when we arrested them, they couldn't believe they were caught. Their crimes turned out to be numerous, and all of them were hidden behind the mask of harmless old folks. Labrador and I managed to catch them and return all the stolen goods. Now, these two criminals are back in prison and won't harm anyone again.
This story began on a typical morning when something incredible happened in our town. I woke up as usual and went for my morning run. But within a few minutes, I noticed something was wrong. Everyone around me started aging. My friend, Old Beaver, looked even older, and the young animals in our town began to wrinkle. I immediately knew this was no coincidence.
Labrador called me, and I rushed over to him. The scene was just horrifying. On the streets of our town, all the animals looked like old folks. I had never seen anything like it. We needed to quickly figure out what had happened. We met with Dr. Fox, who confirmed our fears. Someone had poisoned the air in our town. He said this substance caused animals' bodies to age at an alarming rate.
We started the investigation by visiting all the key places in town. First, we visited the clean air factory on the outskirts of town. There we found traces of some strange substance that was clearly not part of the normal production. The factory was run by Old Raccoon, who seemed unaware of what was happening. But we couldn't rule anyone out as a suspect.
Next, we went to the lab where Dr. Fox was analyzing the found substance. He said it was a complex chemical compound that could only be produced by a highly qualified chemist. We began interviewing everyone who could have access to such chemicals. This led us to Professor Skunk, who had recently come to town for a scientific conference. We decided he might know something about this.
When we arrived at the professor's, he looked worried and frightened. He told us that he was working on a new type of fuel that accidentally had a side effect. It aged living organisms. He claimed he never meant to harm anyone, and that his invention had been stolen. He gave us a lead that pointed to an old warehouse on the edge of town, where he suspected the stolen substance might be hidden.
We quickly reached the warehouse and found not only the stolen substance, but also a suspect. It was one of the former employees of the Clean Air Factory, who wanted revenge for being fired. He wanted to tarnish the town's and the factory's reputation, but didn't realize the terrible effect his actions would cause. We apprehended him and handed him over to the authorities.
Then began the difficult task of cleaning the air. Dr. Fox and Professor Skunk together developed an antidote, which we distributed throughout the town. Gradually, all the residents started returning to their normal ages. It was truly a miracle. Our town came back to life and everyone thanked us for saving them.
This story taught us many things. We realized how important it is to be vigilant and take care of our town's safety. And although that morning started with horror, it ended with our town becoming stronger and more united. Labrador and I will continue to protect it from any threats, because there is nothing more important to us than the safety of our residents.
It was an unusual incident when that strange old lady appeared in our town. They said she was elderly, but her eyes glowed with a sinister light. She would come to the children, promising to grant wishes, but every time someone asked for her help, something horrible would happen.
When Labrador and I arrived at her house, we realized something was off. Black plants were growing around the house, and the air felt thick. She stood at the door, staring at us, but not moving. We decided that we needed to uncover her magic.
When Dobie and I entered the old lady's house, we immediately felt that something was off. It was dark and stuffy inside. We found an old spell book, and soon realized that the old lady was a witch, using magic to age people and steal their life force. This explained all the strange happenings in the town. We knew we had to break her spells as quickly as possible.
With the power of our will, we managed to destroy her magic. At that moment, the old lady vanished, and with her, all her charms disappeared. When we returned to town, people began to go back to their normal lives. It all ended like a bad dream.
Well, friends, we finally made it out of that scary house and defeated the evil grandmother. I hope you enjoyed this adventure. We'll be happy to see you in our next videos.
Absolutely right, Labrador. Thank you for being with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on our new adventures. For now, take care and see you next time.
Hello, friends. It's Sheriff Labrador here again with my tireless partner, Sheriff Dobie. Today, we've jumped into a totally crazy mode in Roblox called Shrink or Grow to complete the obby. This is going to be a real puzzle challenge. Hit the like button if you love obbies and comment below who you think will complete all the levels faster, me or Dobie.
Hey, everyone. Oh, guys, this isn't just any obby. Here, you don't just jump over obstacles, you also have to change sizes at the right time. In some sections, you need to shrink down to the size of an ant to crawl under barriers, while in others, you need to become a giant to leap over massive gaps. It seems like we're going to need all our agility and cleverness to make it through this obby.
It all starts with a small level where we learn how to change sizes. There are magic platforms that either shrink us or grow us. And right from the start, it's clear that this won't be easy. You need to time your jumps onto the platforms perfectly to get the right size and avoid falling into the abyss.
The backstory of this mode says that this obby was created by a great scientist who accidentally mixed magic potions and created a world where size doesn't matter. His lab was filled with experiments, and eventually the entire world turned into a maze with changing scales. Now we have to navigate through his creation to find a way out.
But be careful, friends. The mode is full of traps, disappearing platforms, moving blocks, and even spikes that pop up out of nowhere. And the hardest part is choosing the right size at the right time so you don't get stuck or fall. Imagine, you need to shrink to slip under a laser and then instantly grow to avoid falling from high platforms.
There are even sections where you have to switch sizes mid-air. For example, shrinking to slip through a narrow passage, then quickly growing to leap over a giant gap. It's like an acrobatic show, but with elements of magic and awesome obby challenges.
We can get help from special power-ups, speed boosts, double jumps, or temporary invisibility to get through the toughest sections. But you still have to find those power-ups, and they might be hidden in the most unexpected places, like under a platform that you can only see when you're mini-sized.
And of course, at the end of each level, there's a big final jump that you can only make if you choose the right sizes in the correct sequence. It's like a true test of speed, reaction, and logic. Guys, let us know in the comments which size you prefer, tiny or gigantic. And Dobie and I are setting off on our journey through this incredible obby. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our new adventures and escapes.
In some sections, you don't even need to grow larger. I just returned to my original size and easily got through it. Dobie, do you see this beautiful staircase we're walking on? It's painted in rainbow colors. Wow, it looks amazing.
Sheriff, look back. With each step you take, the staircase disappears. You're lucky you're moving fast enough to get through it. The best move here would be to grow bigger and start running as fast as possible, just like Sonic.
Oh, we've hit another staircase with waves. Let's grow larger here too and try to just jump over it. Guys, watch and remember these hacks. These Roblox modes really test your cleverness, and Dobie and I are super resourceful. We always find solutions to any tough challenges, right, Dobie?
That's right. Wow, this looks like a real water slide, just like in a water park, but without the water. By the way, I've often responded to calls at water parks. It's a place where anyone can easily get injured. We're not medics, of course, but we have to figure out how they got hurt. Who knows? There might be evil scientists or wizards at the water park. We're always on guard, keeping order.
Hey, have you noticed that with each level, the obby gets harder and harder? The traps activate faster, the platforms disappear quicker, and the gaps between them get wider. It's like the scientists set everything up specifically to confuse us. But we're not that easy to fool, right, Dobie?
Of course, we're real sheriffs. The key is to choose the right moments to change sizes. Labrador, it seems like something changes every time in this obby. I see some new paths that weren't there before. That means the further we go, the tougher it gets. But we're not giving up. The main thing is to keep our balance and remember to change sizes at the right time.
Dobie, did you see what happened to the town square? At first, I thought I was having vision problems or maybe I was just too tired. Imagine this. I'm walking downtown in the morning, and suddenly I see the statue in the square has grown to the size of a house. And just a little further, right across from the cafe, there's a tiny car, barely bigger than a toy. I couldn't believe my eyes. Was this really happening? Only later did I find out that it was all the work of an evil scientist. He invented a device that can enlarge or shrink anything.
Labrador, I was shocked too. When I saw that giant thing in the square, I thought it was some elaborate prank or a movie being filmed. But then, when I saw a giant mailbox fall right in the middle of the street, scaring all the passers-by, I realized something was really wrong. And the scariest part is that this scientist, Dr. Shrank, decided he could use his invention to establish a new order in the town. He enlarged everything he considered important and shrank everything else, as if he had the right to decide what the town needed and what it didn't.
Yeah, Shrank definitely got carried away with his device. He figured that if he made his invention known to the world, he could dictate terms, and the town would become his personal playground. At first, everything looked chaotic. Giant objects blocked the streets, tiny buildings got lost among huge bushes and benches, but when he enlarged the town hall tower so much that it blocked out the entire sky, that's when it became a real problem. We knew we had to do something fast, but it wasn't easy. Shrank's device was very powerful and compact. It could be anywhere.
Labrador, do you remember how we started searching for Shrank? We decided he must be hiding nearby to keep an eye on the results of his actions. We split up to search the area, and I found one of his hidden labs on the outskirts of town. It was full of all sorts of strange gadgets, and I almost stepped on one of his miniature robots that was patrolling the entrance. At first I thought it was just a toy, but then the robot started making alarm sounds, and I had to act fast to avoid causing a scene.
You did a great job, Dobie! While you were checking out the lab, I stumbled upon Shrank himself. He was busy checking the results of his latest experiment. He had shrunk the fountain in the park down to the size of a cup and was laughing like a madman. I decided to play it smart and started distracting him with conversation. I told him his invention was really impressive, but hinted that without his device, the town couldn't function normally. You should have seen his face. Shrank was beaming with pride. But as soon as I noticed that the device was on his belt, I knew this was our chance.
Labrador, you're a master at distraction. While you were talking to him, I managed to get closer and start deactivating his security systems. Those devices were set up to interfere with any attempt to get close to the main gadget. But luckily, I managed to bypass them using that miniature robot I had grabbed from his lab. And as soon as Shrank got distracted by your comment about the impact of his invention on the town, I made a dash and grabbed the device.
Yes, we defeated him there, but there was another situation related to this mode. It all started like an ordinary day. We were doing our usual patrol of the area when we suddenly noticed strange, shiny blocks appearing in the square, resembling those from computer games. I thought it was some new art installation or maybe an advertising stunt. But when I got closer and saw that the blocks looked like they were made of magical gold, I started to worry. Then we discovered that these were actual lucky blocks created by an evil wizard.
Labrador, it was incredible. At first, I thought you were joking when you said the blocks might be real. But as soon as I saw them up close, I realized they weren't just decorations. They had some kind of magical aura. As soon as we started investigating these blocks, something unexpected happened. One of them began to glow and emit strange sounds. We were lucky to be attentive. As soon as I touched one of the blocks, it opened up and a bunch of colorful sparks flew out. These sparks filled the air, and I knew we were in trouble.
Yes, and that was just the beginning. When we opened a few more blocks, it became clear that they weren't just decorative. Each block was somehow linked to the wizard's magic. One of them released actual fire elementals that immediately began wreaking havoc in our park. Another block triggered a snowstorm right in the middle of summer. We quickly realized that we needed to find a way to stop this magic and figure out how it all connected to the wizard.
Exactly. And you know what was the hardest part? Not just the blocks themselves, but the fact that they started attracting people's attention. Everyone began to gather around, and panic ensued. We tried to explain to people that these weren't just amusing toys, but a serious threat. Fortunately, we had a little time to figure out how to handle the situation. We decided we needed to find the wizard himself and figure out how to stop all these anomalies. But, as it turned out, he was aware of our interference.
Yes, the wizard was very clever. We started deciphering the note and realized that the wizard had left clues on how to neutralize the magic of the blocks. It turned out that each block was connected to a specific element: fire, water, earth, and air. To stop them, we needed to find special amulets that the wizard had hidden in various locations around the city. We managed to find all the amulets and stop the magic of the lucky blocks, and everything ended well. Thanks for watching and listening to this video, everyone. Goodbye for now.
I found 2 amulets, and Labrador found the other 2. It will be interesting to see what happens next. Stay tuned for the next video. Goodbye for now.
Guys, the Grumpy Gran almost caught me. Watch this video until the end to save me. Hi, friends. Today we found ourselves in a creepy place, the house of a grumpy grandmother. She not only locked us in here, but also set up numerous obstacles. The house looks cozy at first glance, but every corner hides dangers. It reminds me of Granny's house, only this one is even scarier.
Hello, everyone! Yes, Labrador, this grandma is a real trickster. She not only locked us in the house, but also turned it into a real trap. Every step requires utmost caution, as something unexpected could be lurking around every corner. This place is definitely not for the faint of heart.
On this property, there's another equally creepy house. It seems Grandma decided to double our troubles. Both houses are full of terrifying challenges, and we'll have to go through them to escape. These houses remind me of the famous Granny house, where every sound can give away your location, and every room is full of surprises.
This grandma is the meanest in the world. She's not going to let us go easily. Even if we get out of the houses, we'll face a final battle with her. We need to be ready for this. She clearly knows how to make us run. Grandma is not just grumpy, she has incredible cunning and malice.
But despite all her tricks, we won't give up. Every step we take brings us closer to freedom. We know we can overcome any obstacles she has put in our way. The main thing is to stay calm and focused. This situation requires our maximum concentration.
You're right, Labrador. We've already been through a lot, and this challenge won't be an exception. We'll keep moving forward, despite all difficulties. Grandma might be devious, but our determination is stronger. This house may be full of secrets, but we'll uncover them all.
There are many secrets in this house, but we as real sheriffs know how to find a way out of any situation. We'll use everything we find to escape and defeat Grandma. It won't be easy, but we're ready. The house resembles a labyrinth with many hideouts and hidden passages that we need to figure out.
Yes, this adventure will stay with us for a long time, but we know we can handle it. Let's go, friends! New challenges await us, and we're ready for them. Grandma thinks she can stop us, but she doesn't know who she's dealing with.
Grandma's house is full of old toys, strange paintings, and secret doors. It seems like it has a life of its own. Sometimes you can hear the floorboards creak or doors slam, even when no one is around. The atmosphere here is just creepy, making our task even more thrilling.
We must be careful because in this house, every little thing could be a trap. Maybe Grandma has hidden keys or clues that will help us escape. We need to stay alert and use all our skills to avoid getting caught.
Gran is not only smart, but also very fast. She can appear at any moment, and we'll have to react quickly. We need to work as a team, support each other, and not lose faith in our success. This adventure demands our utmost courage and resourcefulness.
Together, we can overcome all obstacles. Grandma may be dangerous, but she won't stop us. Guys, what do you think of this Grandma? She looks a bit creepy to me. Her head is very big, just like the house itself. Labrador, we've already made it quite far. Guys, make sure to subscribe and like.
Make sure to subscribe and like. The second house, like the first one on the property, seems to hold even more dangers. Grandma clearly won't let us go without a fight. This house has long corridors leading to locked doors, behind which the answers to our questions might be hidden.
How can someone even make such a scary house? I wouldn't live here for anything. Creaking floorboards, cold wind seeping through the cracks in the walls, and sudden sounds that make your heart race. But we both know that behind any door might be the key to our freedom.
While we are running away from these scary monsters, by the way, who are they? What do you think, friends? Write your opinions in the comments. I think they are zombies. What do you say, Dobie? You think they are children kidnapped by this old woman? Well, I don't know, maybe you're right, but I hope not.
What else is on the property of her house? I don't understand how she can live here. It's very scary. Really very scary. Every one of your views makes us braver, but still, we shouldn't overdo it, because after all, we are not supermen. Labrador, can you tell them a story where we acted like real superheroes?
In our cozy animal town, life was peaceful and calm until rumors about a strange grandmother began to spread. She was short, with gray hair, and always wore a huge cardigan she knitted herself. She was often seen walking around the streets, and at first glance, she seemed like a regular old lady. But soon, strange things started happening. Children playing in the park or on the playground began to disappear. At first, one or two kids went missing, causing concern among parents. But when the number of missing children increased, the town was gripped by real panic.
Labrador and I immediately knew we had to act fast. As we began our investigation, we noticed one detail. The strange grandmother was always near the places where children disappeared. It was like she was watching them. We decided to keep an eye on her. After a few days, we saw her approach children, offering them candy and inviting them to her house for knitting lessons. The kids, unsuspecting, gladly followed her.
The plan was simple. We needed to enter the house pretending to be regular visitors and free the children. Dobie and I put on everyday clothes and headed to the grandma's house. She greeted us with a smile and invited us in, not suspecting our real purpose. The house was filled with knitted items, scarves, hats, sweaters, even cat toys. But the scariest part was in another room. There, sitting at small tables, the children were knitting. Their faces were tired and sad, and they worked without stopping.
We knew we had to act quickly and carefully. Waiting for the moment when the grandma went to another room, we hurried to the children and started freeing them. They were scared, but when they saw us, they knew rescue was near. We led the children out of the house and hid them in a safe place nearby. Meanwhile, the grandma discovered they were missing and started to panic. She was running around the house trying to find them.
We called for backup, and when the grandma tried to escape, she was quickly apprehended. She was arrested and charged with kidnapping and exploiting children. It turned out she was using the children to create her knitted items, which she then sold. We were happy we could save the children and prevent further kidnappings.
The children were returned to their families, and the town became peaceful again. Parents were endlessly grateful to us for saving their children. This incident showed that even behind the appearance of a harmless old lady, real danger could be lurking. We must always be vigilant and ready to protect our town from any threat.
This story was an important lesson for us. We realized that you can't always judge a person by their appearance. The children quickly recovered and returned to their normal lives. Now we continue to patrol the town to make sure something like this never happens again. We have increased security and pay more attention to all new residents.
The town returned to its usual life. The residents felt safe again, knowing we were always on guard. We continue our work, doing everything possible to make every resident feel protected. This story will remain in our memory as an example of how courage and determination can overcome any danger.
There's another very secret story, just for you friends. Last year, New Year's was nothing like we expected. We were all waiting for Father Frost with his gifts and joy. But instead, on the horizon appeared Granny Frost. At first, she seemed just as kind as her predecessor, but soon we noticed some strange things.
Yes, Labrador, this Granny Frost didn't bring joy. She took it away. She went from house to house collecting candies and sweets, and the gifts she brought were either broken or completely different from what the children had expected. She said she was doing this because she wanted to feel important, but her actions only caused pain.
We noticed something was off when we saw her enter one house and take all the candies off the tree. That was suspicious, and we realized we had to act. We started keeping an eye on her to figure out what she was up to.
Yes, we set a trap. We put some sweets on the table and left a few candies under the tree to lure her in. And sure enough, she came, and we caught her. She was surprised when we grabbed her, but then she told us everything.
It turned out Granny Frost used to be Father Frost. She had lost her magic, and to feel important again, she decided to take away joy from people, not realizing that it was wrong. She thought this would help her regain her power.
We explained to her that real magic isn't about taking from others, but about giving joy. We told her how Father Frost brings happiness to children, and Granny Frost could help decorate homes and make gifts with her own hands. Instead of destroying, she could create.
After that, she changed. We helped her regain her magic, but not the old magic of taking, but the new magic of giving joy. Granny Frost started making toys for children, helping decorate Christmas trees, and even organizing parties for everyone.
Now, New Year's became a holiday for all. Granny Frost no longer took joy. She made it available to everyone. Together with Father Frost and Granny Frost, we created the most magical New Year anyone could ever imagine.
And so, our adventure in the house of that wicked grandma has come to an end. We managed to get through all her traps and finally find the way out. It was tough, but with your support and our strength, we made it.
Yes, Labrador, it was a real challenge, but as always, we didn't give up. Thanks to everyone who was with us. We proved that with teamwork and determination, we can overcome any obstacle. And the grandma, she just couldn't stop us.
Save us. Guys, watch this video until the end. Like it and leave a comment, and you'll save us. Hello, friends. Today, Dobie and I have found ourselves in a real predicament. We've been trapped by the evil Karen, who believes she's the only beautiful person on Earth. Her house is a fortress filled with traps and secrets. We have to work together to escape. Karen is so wealthy that her house is packed with all sorts of gadgets she uses to keep us captive.
Hi, everyone. Yes, Labrador is right. Karen is a real villain. Her beauty is deceptive. Behind it lies a cold heart. She trapped us and wants to keep us here forever to be the only beauty around. Her house is indeed luxurious, but the atmosphere is sinister. You can feel her presence in every corner. Everything around reminds us of her vanity and pursuit of perfection.
Every room in her house is a separate challenge. We have to work together to activate hidden mechanisms and platforms that allow us to move forward. Teamwork is essential here. I press a button and a path opens up for Dobie. Then he does the same for me. Step by step, we advance despite all the obstacles Karen throws at us.
This really requires complete synchronization and trust in each other. Only then can we overcome these challenges. In some places, the house feels like a maze where it's easy to get lost. But we won't give up because our goal is to escape and stop Karen. Her control over this place makes her even more dangerous. But I believe we can handle it together.
Moreover, Karen's house is filled with mirrors and reflections. She obviously adores her reflection and thinks it gives her more power. But we must not succumb to her influence. Instead, we use it as a clue to find hidden exits or keys. Every action she takes against us becomes a new opportunity for us to find a way out.
The rooms where she keeps her treasures and jewelry are particularly interesting. These halls look dazzling, but they hide the most dangerous traps. Karen doesn't want anyone to steal her jewels, so she has done everything to guard them. However, in these halls, we can also find important items that will help us escape. We need to be extremely careful and attentive.
We understand that at the end of this journey, we will face a final showdown with Karen herself. She will probably defend her kingdom to the last, but we have no choice but to fight. We know that defeating her is the only way to regain our freedom. Karen may be strong and cunning, but our friendship and unity give us the strength to move forward.
We hope for your support, friends. With each step, we get closer to freedom and victory over Karen. This path is not easy, but we believe we can overcome all the obstacles. Your faith in us helps us keep going. Don't forget to subscribe and like.
Recently, something completely unusual happened in our town. I guess I should start from the very beginning. One morning, Madame Karen, the most beautiful lady I had ever seen, came to visit us. She appeared in the square, and her dazzling beauty mesmerized everyone around. It seemed like no one could resist her charms. Soon, we noticed that people started acting strangely. They began bringing her jewels and the most delicious candies, as if they were under some kind of hypnosis.
It was truly incredible. Every day, we saw the townspeople lining up to give Madame Karen their most valuable possessions. Labrador and I immediately realized that something wasn't right. Madame Karen didn't just appear in our town for no reason. She was clearly using her beauty to manipulate the townspeople.
We began an investigation. At first, everything seemed too tangled. No one could explain why they were so eager to please Madame Karen. Professor Owl, our old friend and sage, advised us to pay attention to the behavior of the townspeople. She suggested that Madame Karen might have been using some sort of method to control them. We decided to keep a closer watch on her.
One night, we decided to follow Madame Karen. She lived in a large mansion on the outskirts of town. We sneaked inside and discovered that there was a huge mirror ball in her room. It was a device that emitted hypnotic waves, controlling the will of anyone who came under its influence. We realized that we needed to turn it off immediately.
We came up with a plan. I took on the task of distracting Madame Karen while Dobie disabled the device. At the moment she started suspecting something was wrong, I engaged her in conversation. It was difficult because her beauty could really drive anyone mad, but I knew I couldn't give in to her charms.
Meanwhile, I made my way to the mirror ball. Turning it off wasn't easy. It was protected by a complex system, but thanks to our skills and experience in situations like this, I found a weak spot. I quickly dismantled the mechanism and shut off the hypnotic waves. As soon as the ball stopped emitting waves, all the townspeople under Madame Karen's influence started coming to their senses.
Madame Karen lost her power. Without the hypnotic device, her charms no longer worked. The townspeople began to realize what had happened, and they were filled with gratitude for our intervention. We arrested Madame Karen and handed her over to justice. She could no longer harm anyone in our town.
This story taught us a lot. External beauty doesn't always reflect true intentions. It's important to always stay alert and not be swayed by first impressions. Labrador and I did everything we could to protect our town and its people, and in the end, justice prevailed. Now, our town is peaceful and calm again. Everyone has returned to their usual routines, and there is no longer any fear of someone manipulating us.
Ah, dear subscribers, something unexpected and, frankly, quite strange happened in our town. Let me start from the beginning. One fine day, we noticed that all the most beautiful boys and girls started gathering together. At first, it was just small groups, but then the situation started spiraling out of control. These young residents of the town, all possessing incredible beauty, suddenly began to unite. It was like magic. The more they came together, the stronger and more attractive they became. And when their powers reached their peak, from their union emerged none other than the boss of beauty. I can tell you, it was something truly out of the ordinary.
And it really became a problem. The boss of beauty wasn't just beautiful, he was huge, powerful, and as I discovered, not exactly friendly. This giant started destroying everything in his path. He walked through the town, and his shining image literally made everyone fall to their knees. Some people were forced to look at him in admiration. Others tried to find the strength to turn away, but no one could resist his attractiveness.
I can't help but mention that this was truly a nightmare. Everything we knew about dealing with criminals wasn't helping. This wasn't a regular threat. It was a true wonder of nature. The boss of beauty wasn't just destroying buildings. He was destroying the morals of the townspeople, making them forget about the important things in life and focus only on appearances. This was dangerous for everyone because we had no idea how to fight it.
So, we had to act fast. We started gathering information on what could stop this giant of beauty. I suggested using an old trick. Sometimes too much beauty becomes inconvenient. We turned to the wise residents of the town, those who weren't so dependent on appearances. In the end, it turned out that to defeat the boss of beauty, we just needed to make him see the real, unidealized picture of the world. We decided to carry out an operation that would shatter his illusion.
We started by asking some of our friends, who weren't as attractive, but were very smart, to use mirrors and other reflective surfaces. We set a trap so that his reflection would show him something he didn't want to see. Mirrors outside, combined with reflective surfaces inside buildings, began to create optical illusions. We created such a reflection that the boss of beauty himself started doubting his own strength.
And it worked! The boss of beauty began losing his confidence. The mirrors started showing him that his appearance wasn't everything, and that there were other important things in the town. By the time he realized he couldn't control his emotions through his beauty, we took the opportunity to weaken his power. We ripped control of the town from his hands and destroyed the magic of his attractiveness.
And so, thanks to our plan, the boss of beauty stopped destroying the town. We brought him back to reality, where not only external beauty matters, but also inner qualities. This was a lesson not only for him, but also for all the townspeople. Beauty is important, of course, but it doesn't solely define who you are. We saved the town, and people began to appreciate not just appearances, but the things that truly make them strong.
Yes, we won, but I'll tell you one thing. We also need to be careful with beauty. Sometimes it can cloud the mind, but only true values will help us stay on the right path. In the end, what matters is what's inside, and our town is once again as it should be, harmonious and happily balanced.
After we destroyed her mechanisms and broke all the traps, Karen activated her final defense. She transformed into a giant right in front of us. Her entire body became enormous, and her eyes burned with evil. We knew this was our final battle. But how could we defeat such a giant Karen?
We quickly noticed that there were weak spots on her body, glowing brightly. These were clearly her vulnerabilities. But to reach those spots, we needed to distract her. We immediately realized that we had an unconventional weapon, the poop that Karen absolutely hated. It was just like her own gifts to anyone who didn't please her.
Karen started losing her confidence more and more. We saw her strength fading, and with every hit she grew weaker. Eventually, she collapsed to the ground, unable to stand before us any longer. We defeated her, not with strength, but with persistence and teamwork. Thank you all for watching. We defeated Evil Karen.
Hi, friends. Today we're going to try to escape from an evil dog in Roblox. It's right behind us, but it seems to be sleeping. So for now, we're safe.
Hi, everyone. Not only do we have challenges ahead, but also boss battles. By the way, if you know the name of this dog, let us know in the comments.
Sheriff Labrador, what if we jump on her belly?
Let's do it, but be ready in case she wakes up. Don't worry.
I think she's stuffed and watched TV all night.
Yeah, looks like we need to crawl through the vents. But there's parkour ahead. Good thing I did that back in school.
Oh no, you accidentally broke her mom's vase. Looks like she's sleeping soundly. Hope she won't notice when she wakes up.
Let's quickly pass through and slip away. Oh, here's a huge room. See those metal platforms? We need to press a button.
I wonder why this dog created all these challenges. I don't think she could handle them herself, although they could be useful for maintaining health.
Wow, it's a rope bridge. I used to ride one of those when I was a kid. Maybe she built all these obstacles so no one could disturb her sleep. But here we are, trying to escape from her. Strange that she kidnapped us. Look, she has a family. Why can't we see them? And who's the guy in the picture on the left? Looks like Tom's friend.
I have a theory. We've entered a world of talking animals. Maybe this is hell because no one wants to be forced to talk, especially about things they don't want to.
Probably. She built all these trials to avoid the fate of endless conversations. Now we need to find the others and figure out why we were kidnapped.
Maybe they kidnapped us so we'd replace them in conversations and they could be free? Or maybe they feed on other animals and that gives them the ability to talk? Or maybe they're just a little crazy. We need to focus on getting out of here and figuring out what's going on.
We need to crawl through the vents. It's the way to the next location. Hopefully we'll meet some new characters.
Look, it's Talking Tom!
Oh, he fell!
Get ready to run.
I don't think he has good intentions. Have you ever seen Tom with red eyes? He looks like he's ready to crush us like pancakes. Looks like he's about to start shooting lasers.
What if he can do more than just talk? We'll need superpowers to apprehend the suspects.
Why is he hiding around the corner? Did he think we couldn't see him?
Maybe he's a little dumb or just sleepy and disoriented.
He has funny little teeth like a baby. You know, he even seems a little cute to me.
Oh, looks like you like all of this. Hope you don't start turning into one of them. Are you in a trance or something?
I don't know. Hope I'm not getting absorbed by this atmosphere. If something happens, let me know.
Of course, let's go through the vent. We've already dealt with Tom. Let's see who's ahead. Looks like a kid's room.
Maybe it's Ben's room?
You're right, it's a girl. I wonder what her name is and if she's facing the same problem as Ben.
While you were talking, we're already in her paws. Why did we get teleported back? I don't think she's as evil as Tom.
I think so too. If she wanted to bite us, she would have gotten out through the bars. There are huge gaps in them.
Oh, her name is Lily. Strange that there's no room for her brother. Why are they separated like that? Let us know in the comments if you have a brother or sister and live in the same room.
What if something happened to her brother? Maybe that's why everyone went crazy and thinks we killed him.
Dobie, you're daydreaming again. It's distracting us from our main goal. I don't think it's as scary as you think.
We're in the central ventilation system that provides oxygen to the entire complex. I wonder what we can leave as a souvenir here.
It was an ordinary night when Dobie and I were patrolling the city of animals. Nothing unusual until a strange light appeared in the sky. It was pulsing, changing colors, and moving like it was alive. I immediately realized it wasn't a meteor or a regular drone. We decided to approach it. When we got to the deserted park, the light grew brighter and descended right in front of us. We stopped, turned on the sirens, and began observing. And then, from that light, dogs began to emerge.
I thought it was some kind of illusion, but no, these dogs look nothing like us. They were large, with bright, almost glowing eyes. Some of them wore metal collars, which were clearly more than just decorations. I felt something stir inside me. It was like encountering something completely different. They approached us confidently, as if they knew exactly what they were doing.
They didn't look like ordinary dogs. Their behavior was calm but determined, and their eyes held such confidence that it was immediately clear they weren't random visitors. One of the dogs, who seemed to be the leader, stepped forward and stood on its hind legs. It looked at us, and we realized that it wasn't just trying to scare us, it was trying to communicate. It began explaining that they came from another world, where everything is the opposite. There, dogs are the rulers, and humans are the pets.
I couldn't believe my ears. It felt like something out of a science fiction movie. These dogs claimed that their civilization was much older and more advanced than ours. They traveled between worlds, and now that they had found ours, they wanted to propose an exchange. We, the dogs, should become pets in their world, and they would become the masters in ours. And to do this, they were willing to use their technology to move us there.
I was stunned. We, the dogs, would become pets, and these creatures, strange as it sounded, would take our place. But their confidence in this proposal was so strong that there was no point in doubting. They said their world was one of harmony and order, where dogs rule and humans serve as pets. I felt that this wasn't just a random appearance of aliens. It was a proposal that could change everything.
I kept trying to wrap my head around what they were offering us. Exchange. It wasn't just a word. It meant that our world would change forever. We could try living on the other side, in their world, where dogs were rulers and humans were our pets. We could experience a life we'd never known and see how everything worked there. But I also realized that if we agreed, we would never return.
We were faced with this choice: exchange worlds, become pets in another world, or stay in ours. But knowing that would mark the end of ordinary life. I didn't know what to do, but in their eyes, I saw sincerity. This was more than just an offer. It was an opportunity. We could change not just our lives, but also understand what it meant to be part of another reality.
When they offered to use their technology to travel between worlds, I felt my heart race. It seemed unbelievable, but the thought that we could become part of their world was inevitable. Dogs ruling humans. Life in another world. I didn't know what awaited us, but I was sure of one thing. From this moment on, everything would change.
The day Dobie and I received the call, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. We were patrolling the streets of Animal Town, as usual, when our radar beeped. It was an emergency call, and when we heard what was happening, I felt my heart race. Something terrible was approaching. An evil scientist, known for his bizarre inventions, was threatening to launch a machine that could turn rain into a shower of sweet candy. It seemed harmless. What could be wrong with candy rain? But we knew the consequences could be catastrophic.
As soon as we heard about the scientist's plan, we knew exactly what was at stake. Candy rain wasn't just a fun prank. Sheriff and I knew that too much sugar was a serious threat. If this rain actually fell, all the kids would get toothaches. But it wasn't just that. We all know how hard it is to control the urge to eat a candy. What if there were too many of them? It could lead to severe dental issues and even health problems. We had to act fast.
We sped through the city, and with each passing kilometer, the sense of urgency grew. The scientist, as always, couldn't just leave people alone. He was insanely confident in his plan and didn't think about the consequences. In his lab, a massive machine was already prepared to launch the candy rain.
When we got to the location, everything was ready. The scientist was standing by his machine, surrounded by a tangle of wires and mechanisms that clearly didn't look safe. We immediately realized that time was running out. The machine had already started launching the first candies into the air. They were falling with great speed, like rain, but instead of water, it was caramel, chocolate.
Well, here we are. Behind this door, we've got the map's final boss waiting for us, and it looks like we were wrong. This isn't just any boss. It's a giant robot named Ben. Let's try shooting him right in the teeth. I'm aiming for his legs. Maybe that's his weak spot and he'll fall.
Wow! Ben turned out to be a real coward. Instead of fighting, he just built a giant robot.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he were sitting in a chair right now, sipping coffee and watching a movie. I hope it's not alcohol, though.
And he's probably watching football while we're attacking him. This is so unfair. When we got to the location, everything was ready. The scientist was standing by his machine, surrounded by a tangle of wires and mechanisms that clearly didn't look safe. we immediately realized that time was running out. The machine had already started launching the first candies into the air. They were falling with great speed, like rain, but instead of water, it was caramel, chocolate, and lollipops. I quickly assessed the situation. If we didn't intervene, tomorrow all the kids would be in trouble. As soon as we turned off the machine, the sweet rain stopped.
Wow, we won! Don't forget to congratulate us in the comments, but it's time to leave this crazy world of talking animals.
Well, I guess it's time to say goodbye. Hope you enjoyed our escape from the talking animals.
Yeah, don't forget to leave comments, like, and subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to us. Also, check out our other videos and let us know what you'd like to see next. Time to move on. Let's go to new adventures. Wait, what's going on over there? I hope that's not a giant ginger robot. Or Angela. Bye. Hello, friends. Today, Dobie and I decided to test our skills in a new obby parkour in Roblox. This mode was designed especially for us. It looks incredible. All the obstacles are as bright as a rainbow, but it seems we're in for a serious challenge. Guys, give us a like right now if you think we can handle it.
Hi, everyone. Labrador isn't kidding. These rainbow platforms are stunning, but just try to stay on them. I already tripped on the first rainbow path, and it seemed to laugh at me. I hope we can get through all the levels without any losses. Labrador, are you ready?
Of course, I'm ready, Dobie. Although after the first jump, I felt like I was back in puppy school, trying to leap over puddles after the rain. But here, instead of puddles, there are entire oceans of colorful platforms. But honestly, it's so much fun that you forget how difficult it is.
I think I'm starting to understand why they made this mode for us, to test how we handle rainbow jumps. Labrador, did you see that narrow platform? It has already become my personal enemy. And these rainbow paths, they're like a rainbow ribbon, except you have to run on it instead of admiring it.
Yes, Dobie, this parkour isn't for the faint-hearted. It's funny how we, experienced sheriffs, are struggling with these rainbow stripes, but it sure lifts the spirits. Every time I manage not to fall, it feels like a small victory. Look, I finally jumped over that tricky rainbow.
Wow, Labrador, you're a real rainbow master, and I'm here trying not to slide off this spiral staircase. Well, friends, I hope you're enjoying watching us tackle these rainbow challenges. We won't stop until we reach the end.
And here we are again, almost at the end of this rainbow course. Friends, this is a real challenge for both of us, but it's so much more fun to go through all these obstacles together with you. I hope our falls and funny moments bring a smile to your face.
Absolutely! Every fall is an opportunity to start over and, of course, a reason to laugh. I just slid off this slippery rainbow path again, but I feel like I'm starting to become a real parkour master. Rainbow parkour has definitely become our new favorite game. What other Roblox maps would you like to see on our channel? Leave a comment and make sure to hit the like button.
Our Animal City has always been famous for its green parks and cozy streets, but one morning everything changed. I woke up to see that the rain had turned rainbow-colored. Everything around, from trees to cars, was painted in bright, shimmering colors. The water in the river became multicolored, and even the food in the stores took on rainbow hues. Our homes and buildings looked as if they had been painted with a magical brush. It was beautiful, but unnatural. Dobie and I realized that this was not just a natural phenomenon, but something more mysterious and possibly dangerous.
At first, we thought it was the work of some prankster or scientist like Professor Colorful, but it soon became clear that the reason was much more serious. We began our investigation and discovered that this was something new and unknown. We received reports from residents who had seen strange creatures resembling horned horses flying over the city. Then it became clear we were under attack by unicorns. These mythical creatures wanted to take over our city, and their power could change the entire environment.
As it turned out, the unicorns didn't just want to decorate our city. They wanted to transform it completely for their needs. We began looking for a way to communicate with them to understand their intentions and prevent a possible catastrophe. We found their leader, a majestic white unicorn named Astrid. He explained that their world was dying, and they were looking for a new place to live. They chose our city because it seemed perfect to them. But their methods were too aggressive, and this could destroy our way of life.
We realized we needed to find a compromise. We offered to help the unicorns find another place where they could live without destroying our city. Labrador suggested using the city's technology to create a safe and comfortable place for the unicorns. We worked together with city scientists and wizards to create a special sanctuary where the unicorns could live in peace and safety without harming others.
Our efforts were successful. We showed the unicorns the new place, specially created for them, where they could live happily. Astrid was impressed by our kindness and willingness to help. The unicorns agreed to leave our city and move to the new sanctuary. Gradually, the rainbow colors began to fade, and our city returned to its usual appearance. The unicorns, grateful for our understanding and assistance, promised to maintain peace and friendship with us.
So, we managed to prevent the takeover of our city and help creatures in need of a new home. This story taught us that peace and cooperation can solve even the most complex problems. The townspeople were happy to see the familiar colors return, and were proud that we had dealt with such an unusual threat. Our city became calm again, but we will always remember the Rainbow Day when unicorns attacked us.
Recently, a true champion arrived in our city, a leopard named Speed. He was known in the neighboring towns for his outstanding results in races and sprints. His arrival was a real sensation. In honor of this, we decided to hold a city competition to see who the fastest among us really is. Our streets were filled with excitement and anticipation, but the most determined one turned out not to be me, but Dobie. He was set on winning, despite his usually calm nature. Dobie was sure he could beat the leopard.
Of course, I couldn't pass up the chance to show my speed, but I knew that I couldn't just beat a champion like the leopard without something special to give me energy. At the store, I found some energy drinks and started drinking them. At first, it seemed like a simple way to get extra strength, but with each sip, I felt my energy increasing. I was filled with confidence that I could win.
Everything was ready for the start of the competition. We began with a light warm-up, and I noticed that Dobie started to look a little unusual. His eyes were sparkling, and his behavior became much more energetic. He was determined. But when the race started, no one expected him to run so fast. Dobie not only caught up with all the participants, but at one point, he almost matched the leopard's speed. And in the end, he overtook him. Everyone was in shock. Even I, the sheriff, who was always confident in our city, couldn't believe my eyes.
After the win, I felt incredible. My energy was at its peak, and I was so proud of myself. But after a few days, I began to notice that something wasn't right. My energy didn't fade, and I felt really anxious. I couldn't sleep and felt a lot of tension in my body. Then Labrador insisted I visit the doctor. We went to see a rabbit doctor who was an expert in such cases.
The rabbit doctor immediately examined Dobie and ran some tests. It turned out that excessive consumption of energy drinks had caused Dobie's body to stop functioning normally. He was on the verge of exhaustion. The doctor prescribed rest, a balanced diet, and plenty of water to bring him back to normal. Dobie was a bit embarrassed, but understood that it wasn't wise to overdo it with such things. In the end, everything turned out fine, and Dobie became his usual calm and balanced self again. But now he knows that victories aren't just about speed, but also about taking care of your body.
Now I know for sure that health is more important than any victory. I won the competition, but I had to learn from my mistakes. Thanks to Labrador and the rabbit doctor for their help. Next time, I'll train for the competition the right way, without any shortcuts, just using my own strength.
Recently, a strange and terrifying story unfolded in our city. It all began when a new ice cream vendor appeared. He was mysterious and a bit odd. His cart was decorated with bright flags, and he always wore a black suit with dark sunglasses. But something was off. The townspeople started noticing that after children bought ice cream from him, they would disappear. At first, it was just a one-time event, but soon several children went missing, and it became terrifying. Dobie and I immediately started an investigation.
At first, we thought the children might have just run away or gotten into trouble. But the more we kept an eye on the ice cream vendor, the clearer it became that something was wrong with him. We noticed that his van was always parked in the dark corners of the city, and his ice cream had a strange smell. People said it had some unusual flavor, but no one could quite figure out what it was. I decided to take action. Labrador and I went on a night patrol to find out what was really going on.
We tracked him down and found the van on the outskirts of the city. Inside was dark, and the ice cream vendor was standing, laughing, and preparing something behind the counter. As we got closer, we heard strange sounds, like children saying something from inside the van. It was way too suspicious. We decided to act quickly to prevent any more disappearances. Dobie, as always, was determined, and we prepared for a raid.
We brought everything we needed to make sure the ice cream vendor couldn't escape. The van was full of frozen ice creams, but in one corner, we found a large freezer. To our horror, inside we found the missing children. They were in a strange trance, sitting in dark corners as if under hypnosis. It turned out that the ice cream vendor was using a special type of ice cream that made the children succumb to his influence, causing them to disappear and become his hostages. We quickly freed the children and called for help.
And so our adventure comes to an end, friends. Dobie and I managed to do so many exciting things, but now it's time to say goodbye. It's been an awesome time, hasn't it? Hello, friends, it's me, Sheriff Labrador, and today we have a special episode for you.
Hi, everyone. Yes, Sheriff Labrador, I'm already excited.
Together with my loyal partner, Sheriff Dobie, we're going to tell you about the most beautiful and challenging mode in Roblox, Escape the Carnival of Horrors Obby. This mode is simply incredible.
You find yourself in a mysterious and eerie carnival, full of dangers and unexpected twists.
Let's start from the beginning. As soon as you enter the game, you're greeted by a creepy carnival, dimly lit by lanterns. Dangerous traps and evil ghost clowns patrolling the area are scattered everywhere. Your task is to avoid them at all costs.
Exactly. Do you see that red balloon? We need to follow it. In the first stage, you have to be very careful and quick to avoid getting caught by the clowns. I recommend watching your steps closely to avoid traps.
Yes, and that's just the beginning. This clown world is huge, and I think we'll be fighting this clown today. By the way, do you know the name of this clown? Write it in the comments, and whoever guesses correctly will get a heart from us on their comment.
But inside, it's full of dangerous mechanisms. You must be very attentive and keep moving to avoid getting caught in the traps.
We need to get through these rusty pipes. The main thing is not to touch the fire or fall down. We can't forget about the final part, escaping through the horror ride. This is the most challenging part, where you'll have to use all your skills and agility to reach the exit.
Friends, this mode is truly amazing. It's not only difficult, but incredibly beautiful. We are sure you'll love it. Right now, we are in the heart of the Carnival of Horrors, in the clown's house. Just look at this grim place. We need to parkour through old, smelly pipes with a bottomless pit below us.
Yes, it's really scary. The smelly pipes are not only a test of our agility, but also a real endurance test. The smell is disgusting, but we need to focus and move forward.
Watch your step, Sheriff Labrador. If we slip, we'll fall into that bottomless pit. We must be very careful and watch each step. Let's move slowly and confidently.
Good plan, Sheriff Dobie. Do you see that narrow pipe ahead? We need to jump onto it and then move along the wall. The main thing is not to rush and keep our balance.
Great, I'm ready. Let's go, Labrador. You first. I'll cover you. This is probably one of the most difficult stages in this mode, but we'll manage, right?
Of course, Dobie. We're a team. All right, one jump, then another. Carefully, done. Now it's your turn, Dobie.
Got it. I'm coming. One jump, another. Yes, I did it. Now we need to walk along this narrow pipe. It's slippery, so hold on tight.
Of course, Dobie. We're a team. All right, one jump, then another. Carefully, done. Now it's your turn, Dobie.
Yes, it's a real nightmare. These saws spin so fast that one mistake can cost us our lives. We need to move very carefully and precisely calculate our actions.
Look, Dobie, the saws move in a specific pattern. If you watch closely, you can catch the moment when they stop for a split second. That's when we need to dash through.
I made it too. Can you see me? Wow! Look at this beautiful amusement park. Ferris wheel, roller coasters, and much more.
Now we're escaping from the scariest clown in this carnival. He wants to turn us into his dolls, and we urgently need to find a way to escape. Look ahead. There's a Ferris wheel. It's our chance to get to the top.
The clown is still after us. Let's go, Labrador. We can do this.
Yes, we're at the top. What a view! You can see the whole carnival from here. The clown won't catch us here.
Whew, that was intense. But we did it, Labrador. Now we're safe.
Guys, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give us likes. It's the best gift you can give us. Our animal town has always been a peaceful place, but recently we were shaken by a story connected to the amusement park. The park has always been a popular spot for family outings. However, with the arrival of a new clown, strange incidents began happening. He appeared friendly, but there was always something unusual around him. The townspeople began to complain about odd feelings and missing items. Dobie and I decided to get to the bottom of this.
From the very beginning, we noticed that the clown attracted children, but the parents looked at him with concern. We started the investigation trying to understand what was going on. In the park, we discovered strange traces and heard stories about how the clown was leading children in unknown directions. In the evening, the park closed, but some children didn't return home. Labrador and I decided to stay in the park after closing time to see what was happening.
When it got dark, the park turned into a place of shadows and suspicious sounds. We hid behind carousels and rides, observing what was going on. Soon, we saw the clown leading a group of children. They seemed hypnotized, following him without a single word. We cautiously followed them until they reached an old, abandoned tent that hadn't been used in a long time.
The tent was locked, but somehow the clown managed to open it. We carefully approached, trying not to give ourselves away. When we peeked inside, we saw a stage with bright lights. The clown started his performance, but it wasn't an ordinary show. He used strange tricks and magical illusions that seemed to mesmerize the children. We realized that the clown was using some dark magic to control them.
We decided to act quickly. I distracted the clown, pretending I wanted to see the show up close, while Dobie took the children out of the tent. The clown, noticing our presence, became angry. His face twisted into a malicious grimace, and he tried to stop us. But we were already prepared and knew what to do. We used flashlights to blind him and escorted the children to the park's exit.
We led the children to a safe place and called for backup. The clown tried to escape, but he didn't get far. When our colleagues arrived, we arrested him and started the investigation. It turned out that this clown was a former magician who had lost his job and decided to use his skills for sinister purposes. Thanks to our efforts, the park became a safe place for family outings again. Labrador and I returned to the station, knowing that we had done an important job. We told the townspeople this story so they would know that even in the safest place, dangers can be hiding. But together, we can overcome any difficulties and protect our town.
Recently, a new clown appeared in our town. He was so funny that he immediately became popular. Everywhere he went, people laughed until they cried. He performed street shows, visited people's homes, and entertained both children and adults. Everything seemed fine, but something wasn't right. Dobie and I started noticing that after the clown's visits, people's belongings went missing. At first, it was small things, but each day the number of disappearances grew. We decided to take control of the situation and figure out what was happening.
We began to keep an eye on this clown, but he was so sneaky that none of our observers could catch him in the act. He would go into homes, show his tricks, and everyone seemed to forget what had happened. But as soon as the clown left, valuable items were always missing, from watches to jewelry. Sheriff Labrador suggested we find out what was going on, and soon we were in the middle of an investigation. We decided to set up a trap.
One night, Dobie and I decided to keep an eye on the clown in person. We put on masks and went into one of the houses where the clown frequently showed up. When he arrived, we began to watch his actions closely. At first, everything went as usual. He entertained everyone with his jokes and tricks. But suddenly, during one of his tricks, we noticed his hand quickly slip behind his back and disappear into the host's pocket.
That was the moment of truth. Labrador and I realized that this wasn't just a coincidence. We started watching his hands, and soon we discovered that he was really stealing things while everyone was laughing or distracted by his show. He skillfully used his tricks to secretly take small valuables. We decided to catch him red-handed.
When the clown left, we immediately went to the house to check what had gone missing. And, as strange as it seemed, valuable items had indeed disappeared. We gathered our strength and decided to act. The next day, we met with the clown again, but this time, he didn't know we were preparing to expose him. When he started his new trick, we quietly surrounded him.
The clown tried to avoid us, but we already knew everything. He realized his trick had been uncovered and tried to escape. But Labrador was faster. We caught him, and it turned out that this clown was a master of pickpocketing, using his popularity to steal from trusting townspeople. After we arrested him, it was revealed that he was a thief, hiding behind the mask of a cheerful clown. But now, thanks to us, he would no longer be able to cause trouble in our town.
That's how we exposed this funny clown. He thought he could trick us, but it didn't work out that way. This time, the jokes were over. And now all the town's residents know that we don't joke with anyone who tries to deceive them. Dobie and I are back to patrolling, knowing that even the most amusing incidents can hide dangerous secrets.
When we returned to the station, we told the townspeople how important it is to stay vigilant, even when it seems like everything around is 100% safe. The clown thought his tricks would go on forever, but it turned out differently. Labrador and I are proud that we acted in time, and now the townspeople can laugh again without fear.
Officer Dobie and I are on the roller coaster, and right before us stands a massive carnival city. We're not just here for fun. We're keeping everything under control. But right in front of us, there's that terrifying clown.
Well, friends, the time has come to say goodbye. We hope you enjoyed riding with us on these roller coasters, following our adventures, and of course, staying alert. Until next time, and may your carnivals always be filled with joy, not threats.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for being with us. Don't forget to keep an eye on your surroundings, because even in the brightest places, mysteries can be hiding. To all of you who followed our stories through fire, gunfire, and even alien encounters, tonight I need you to listen carefully. Because what I'm about to tell you isn't a typical case. It's not about criminals looking for money or spies chasing secrets. This is about the day something unforgivable happened in Animal Town. The day evil walked through the front door of our most innocent place. The day they took the children. It started like every other weekday morning. Parents in robes, sipping coffee on front steps, ushering sleepy cubs and pups into cars, school buses humming down the main road, laughter, whining, cereal stuck to little noses, the usual. I was making my third round near Mulberry and 3rd, nodding to Mrs. Mole as she crossed the street with her twin sons. Dobie was up north by the train station, overseeing the new security scanners we'd installed after the bank incident. Everything felt normal, routine, and sometimes, that's the most dangerous feeling of all. The call came in at 8:27. Dispatch didn't even finish the sentence. I heard the panic in their voice before the words hit my ear. Hostage situation. Location. Little Acorns Daycare. My blood went cold. I turned the sirens on before I even made the U-turn. The streets blurred. My mind raced. That place, it wasn't just another building. It was the heart of this town. A sanctuary for tiny paws and sleepy eyes. A second home. I'd read stories to those kids during safety week. Dobie once brought them cookies shaped like badges, and now someone had taken it. By the time I arrived, the perimeter was already chaos. Parents screamed behind the police tape. A mother collapsed in sobs. Officers scrambled for positions, not knowing what they were walking into. I spotted Dobie emerging from his cruiser across the street, already on his radio. His face was tight, controlled, but I could see the fire in his eyes. We regrouped behind a sanitation truck, the only cover big enough to shield us both from the line of sight through the daycare windows. He gave me the rundown. 4 individuals, masks, armed, no demands, no contact, just stormed the front door at opening time and barricaded the entrance. Teachers were able to hit the lockdown button. Most classrooms were sealed, but not all. 1 room, the ladybug room, 6 children, 1 teacher, trapped. I remember the feeling that settled over me then. It wasn't fear, it wasn't even rage. It was colder than both. It was clarity. The kind that comes when you realize there's no room for mistakes, no backup, no negotiations, just you, and the decision to protect what must never be harmed. I'll let Dobie tell you what came next, because he was the one who stepped through the side entrance first.
I don't usually talk about fear, not because I'm immune to it, but because when it shows up, you don't have time to talk. You move. But that morning, I felt fear settle into my bones like a shadow you can't shake. The moment I saw the surveillance feed, 6 little animals curled under desks, a trembling hedgehog teacher trying to keep them silent, I understood the depth of the threat. This wasn't just a robbery gone wrong. This was intentional, premeditated, cruel. We later learned these weren't your average thugs. They were extremists, a fringe cell that believed Animal Town's integration policies were impure. That diversity was a disease. They wanted to make a statement, and they chose the most vulnerable symbols we had. Children. But we didn't know that yet. All we knew was that there were 4 of them. 1 watching the front, another in the hallway, and 2 deeper in the building. The ladybug room was in the west wing, past 2 fire doors and a corridor of glass. No cameras in that area, no audio. We had 1 shot. I moved first. Labrador had drawn their attention at the front, staging a negotiation bluff, pacing visibly, talking into a megaphone, making noise. I slipped around the back, through the staff parking lot, into the kitchen entrance, my badge off, my vest stripped down to the essentials. No sound. I knew that building better than most. My niece went there. I'd picked her up from that very hallway a dozen times. As I moved past the storage closets, I heard them. Voices, tense, frantic. I stopped breathing. One of them was arguing with another. Something about time running out. I understood then. They didn't want ransom. They wanted a broadcast, to stream their message live. I reached the hallway junction. I saw the first one. He was pacing, nervous, weapon in hand, not alert enough. I dropped him in 5 seconds. Then the second came, heard the noise, rushed in. We fought hand to paw in the corridor, crashing into lockers, the sound echoing like thunder. He was bigger, but rage makes you sloppy. Precision wins fights. I ended it quickly. 2 down. The third, a female, was in the ladybug room. She had the door blocked with a table. I peeked through the bottom of the hallway mirror. She was standing over the teacher, weapon drawn, the kids frozen. One of them, a bunny named Theo, was whispering something to the others, trying to keep them calm. I nearly broke then, but I waited, watched, timed the moment. She turned. I moved. What happened in that room lasted 13 seconds, but I'll carry it with me for the rest of my life. She didn't go down easy, but she didn't touch them. Not one, because I didn't let her. And the fourth, he fled. Out the front, right into Labrador's path. You can guess how that ended.
He bolted through the entrance like a wild thing. Mask half off, eyes wide, weapon raised. I didn't raise mine. I stepped in front of the children. They were pouring out from the other classrooms now. Teachers guiding them through emergency exits, hands clasped. The last thing I wanted them to see was more violence. So I walked forward, slowly, steadily. And when he saw me, when he saw who we were fighting for, he dropped the weapon, dropped to his knees. He didn't say a word. Neither did I.
In the days that followed, the town held its breath. There were tears, rage, protests, investigations. But there was also unity, resolve, a fire lit beneath every parent, every teacher, every creature who believed that Animal Town stood for something more than just peace. It stood for protection. The Ladybug Room reopened a month later. Labrador and I were there. We stood in the back as the kids came in, now holding colored balloons, not fear. The teacher, Ms. Willow, had returned, stronger than ever. Theo ran up to me, held up a crayon drawing. It was me and Labrador standing in front of a red building with a rainbow over it. He said it was the safe place. We framed it. It hangs in the station to this day. Because no matter what comes, bank robbers, spies, aliens, or monsters in masks, we remember what we fight for. And we will never stop fighting. Not for safety, not for peace, and especially not for the children. Not in our town. You'd think after something like that, after blood and terror inside a room full of stuffed toys and plastic crayons, that the worst would be over. That the evil had shown its face, been arrested, locked away, that the danger had passed. But evil doesn't always leave through the front door. Sometimes it lingers, it waits, and sometimes it grows in the silence. A few weeks after the attack on Little Acorns, we started noticing small things. A fire alarm pulled at the elementary school. False. A suspicious package left near the playground. Harmless. A drone flying too low over the nursery yard. Unregistered, but legally not enough to seize. Individually, annoying. Collectively, a pattern. I began a quiet investigation. No big announcements, no press, just me. A wall of photographs and a gut feeling. Because here's the truth. Predators rarely hunt alone, especially not the kind who go after children. No, these people were part of something bigger. And Labrador, he saw it too. He started talking to parents, gently, quietly, listening to things that didn't make it into reports. A fox dad said someone was watching the daycare drop-offs. A beaver mother got a threatening, anonymous email after defending us in a town meeting. A cat teacher found a USB drive on her windshield with photos from inside the school, taken through the windows. That's when we knew someone was still watching. They weren't finished.
He bolted through the entrance like a wild thing. Mask half off, eyes wide, weapon raised. I didn't raise mine. I stepped in front of the children. They were pouring out from the other classrooms now. Teachers guiding them through emergency exits, hands clasped. The last thing I wanted them to see was more violence. So I walked forward, slowly, steadily. And when he saw me, when he saw who we were fighting for, he dropped the weapon, dropped to his knees. He didn't say a word. Neither did I.
We had two options: wait for warrants or go in. We didn't wait. The place stank of mildew and secrets. The walls were covered with old protest posters, anti-government slogans, crude drawings of hybrid animals tagged with slurs. The main room was a digital spider's nest. 5 screens, all showing different locations. Schools, parks, playgrounds. One was zoomed in on the little acorn's front door. Another showed my niece at recess. That was it. We moved. They heard us. One tried to run. Labrador tackled him in the stairwell. The second drew a weapon, but I was faster. The third locked himself in the server room and tried to wipe the system. Failed. We got him out, got the drives, the backups, the logs. But what we saw, that changed everything. These weren't just extremists. They were part of an online syndicate, a group that hunted vulnerability, targeted peaceful towns. Their game was to terrorize, record reactions, grow followers through chaos. Animal Town was just season 1, but we ended the pilot.